I'm Reid Patterson. I work in software and business development as a partner success manager for Prairie Robotics. And in that role, we're developing tools to make recycling simple for municipalities and waste haulers alike. We use computer vision and artificial intelligence algorithms in our product. So as collections occur, the recycling enters the vehicle, the collection truck. We have onboard cameras that are observing what goes into the truck, and it's automatically identifying things that shouldn't be there. Styrofoam, black garbage bags, poly-coated cups, etc., with the goal of reducing contamination entering the recycling stream. We work with Regina, we work with Fort St. John, we've had several pilot projects, and we are expanding into the United States. The problem that we are solving is that recycling is not done to the degree it should be in North America right now. You're relying on thousands of stakeholders to do the right thing, and it's extremely confusing. There's so many regional differences in recycling. There's poor product labeling, and folks who recycle, they want to do the best that they can, but they're generally getting it wrong. And this leads to whole truckloads of recycling winding up in the landfill. As high as 50% of recyclables go to landfill in certain municipalities. And those sorting and trucking costs are sent back to the city and sent back to the residents through their taxes. So there's a financial issue and there's an environmental issue. And what we've found is that people who are recycling, they wish to do the right thing, they just need a bit of guidance. So we can identify contaminants that enter, we can identify where these contaminants entered the stream, and we're sending out custom education based on what went wrong that collection back to that resident and seeing how the behavior changes over time. So we're solving the where problem using GPS and street-facing cameras. So suppose 123 Main Street puts out their blue bin and we collect it, and we find there's black garbage bags in there. We know from the GPS location that this came from 123 Main Street. So we have a picture of the hopper. Outlined is their black garbage bag, and we send a postcard saying, addressed to current resident, this isn't allowed in your recycling. Here's a list of other common problems, or even some behavioral competition. Here's how the rest of your neighborhood stacked up. The average amount of contaminants per load was 2. You had 4. Things like that. People are somewhat competitive. One of the benefits of our platform is that we are able to get so many more data points than is traditional. Traditionally, audits are occurring in cities, but it's by people actually physically walking someplace, lifting a lid, seeing that 123 Main Street had a black garbage bag, and taking note of that. It's so labor intensive you can't do it. So one thing is we're collecting a lot more data. We have the opportunity to A/B test lots of different messaging to see what sticks. And as far as the behavioral or comparative thing goes, this is an experiment that we like to run, and it's just based off of other utility companies gamifying water or electricity. This happens in other cities where it says you use twice as much water as other similar sized residences. You use twice as much electricity as other similar sized residences. So that's not a new thing. What we're just trying to do is get waste much more treated like a utility, the way it should be. The nature of my role is all to do with getting interviews, getting demonstrations with municipalities and waste haulers that we think that this product, this platform could benefit them. So if you are cruising the internet, there's almost nowhere in North America that has great recycling success stories. What you're going to find is a ton of news articles saying recycling in X municipality in dire straits due to contamination rate, or recycling too costly, or etc. So almost everywhere needs help. Almost everywhere is battling a contamination problem. And so my main role is to identify cities and municipalities, townships, counties, waste haulers that might be struggling with this, and it's costing them actual time and resources, and reach out to demonstrate our solution and get a conversation going. The clients are generally excited. This typically represents a huge paradigm shift in how they can audit and data collect on their waste. So most people, when they realize that they don't have to go out twice a year, 3 times a year flipping lids, are excited, because that's a huge time savings, that's a huge labor savings, and it's just more beneficial overall. You can be auditing 52 times a year, or 26, depending on how many collections there are. The other thing that they're excited about is being able to use this data for smart ways. We allow municipalities to view a heat map of their city that shows, and you can filter by contaminant type. So whatever neighborhood in the north has a lot of styrofoam, whatever neighborhood in the south has a lot of black garbage bags. They can fine tune how they're going to try to educate their residents, and instead of doing blanket campaigns, be much more surgical about it. And we're just excited to see how this can affect people's behavior, because traditionally their tools have been very blunt force and widespread, and maybe not always attacking exactly root issues. The options are endless. So I'm a bit of a hippie. I'm concerned about climate change. I love the environment. I've always wanted to have a career that addresses these problems. And I didn't really realize that the waste industry was so intersectional with that. So there's a ton of problems. We talk about infrastructure life cycle coming to an end for all kinds of things like bridges and roadways, and the reality is that's true for landfills as well. We have a lifetime on our landfills. Many are filling up, and if we can increase our diversion rates, that'll be part of the solution. If truly only trash goes there, and we can divert recyclables today, and tomorrow we'll be working on organics, that can have a huge benefit. This is the first job I've been in that truly feels like whatever my personal goals for the world align with what my day-to-day job goals should be. Like it feels like I'm fighting for the same thing. Occasionally I've worked in jobs where there's a bit of cognitive dissonance, where you might be working at something that you don't really believe in. So this is different in that I do think we have a great platform, and I think it's serving a great purpose. So I'm excited about that. I also love being on a team where you have to chip in everywhere. I'm not traditionally a business person. I've learned a lot here. I like the software side of it too. It's a great space for learning new skills in as well. And I just think it's really cool to be involved in a computer vision, machine learning aspect. It feels very cutting edge, so there's lots to be happy about. Prairie Robotics is just a hands-off solution. Like I said before, we want to make it as simple as possible. So the driver doesn't have to be looking at a monitor. They can focus on driving, and right from identifying that a collection is taking place, to analyzing that collection, to sending out the appropriate custom educational material is all handled and automated. And we are a young company. We've had a lot of work, we've had a lot of success, but I'm very excited to see, just as time goes on and more of this education gets pushed out to people, observing in real time how behavior changes, and hopefully we can save our recycling stream.